Great. Okay. Well, a very warm welcome to the Marketing Society and Monk's second LinkedIn Live session in our new series, your AI Playbook. This is a recording due to a few technical issues. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rachel Letham. I'm Head of Brand and Comms here at the Marketing Society. And we've already got some great questions from our first attempt at getting this live. So we'll be answering those at the end. And if you do have any questions, feel free to pop them in the post where we'll be sharing this on LinkedIn to help out today. So joining me today is Chief Creative Officer Jouke Vuurmans from Monks, the global purely digital data-driven company with a legacy of innovation and specialised expertise. And Monks combines an extraordinary range of global marketing and technology services to accelerate business growth and redefine how brands interact with the world. So this series is all about AI, and AI quite clearly is transforming marketing. And this series provides marketers with a practical playbook to applying AI in their business. And we're going to be sharing tangible tools and solutions, learning how to identify and create momentum to start your transformation and leverage AI through this year and into 2026. So, Jouke, let's give you a little intro. He started his career as the first creative at Monks when MySpace was still a thing, for those of you who might remember that. And since then, the digital creative world has obviously evolved rapidly, and that changing landscape has become his playground to give him and Monks foundational growth in creating a powerful creative powerhouse with international recognition. And as the digital age advances, with AI reshaping the creative landscape, he is on the front lines of what is next now, and he's advocating for a future where technology serves to enhance human creativity, where the machines will make the work more human. So without much further ado, I'm going to hand over to you to share your screen, and I will be asking you some questions at the end.
Thanks, Rachel. Nice introduction. I'm going to share my screen indeed. Here we go. I might need to quickly make sure. Yes, sound is shared as well. Hello, everybody. Thanks for the introduction. This is the second session we are doing together with the Marketing Society. Very excited for it. The first one was done by Wesley Tahar, one of the founders, and it was all about sort of the basics of applying AI in your business. Today, I'm going to dive in more around what AI actually can mean for brands and brand building. It's what we call a real-time brand is what you need to be today. I'll double down on that a little bit. First, the introduction was already there. Thank you again, Rachel, was nice. I'm with Monks for 20 years, a very long, and in those 20 years, obviously, digital has evolved massively. So I'm used to a lot of adoption to new technology, to new ways and opportunities. But when AI came in, obviously, that was the massive smack in my face, so to speak, or so to visualize here. Not to least because it's new, it was scary, but mainly that scary component of it was creating an anxiety, because I think we all look at this new era, this new reality, and there's a human tension to look at that once you're being changed and disrupted a lot, which is just defaulting to an anxiety. And it's not weird, right? Because everything is changing what we know to, at least the promise of it being changing. And as I mentioned, this is something that I see as a Black Mirror effect. It's basically a human reaction. We all have it. It's in different proportions and for different things. But the anxiety that is caused by change and complexity is also causing us to hold back a little bit and to be scared of it and to push it away and to not focus on it. But in my 20 years and in a lot of the new technology disruption we've seen in that 20 years, I've also always noticed that there's on the other side, next to the Black Mirror, a white canvas. Because these new opportunities, these new changes, they bring in progress. And progress is what we all need to embrace. And this is kind of why I'm a big advocate and a big optimist as well, because I think personally we are focused on the wrong side. We are constantly focused on protecting what we know, especially in marketing. I think we are very outdated to that sense because we're focused on the methods we've known from before, the formats we know, the ways of working we know. And I think that's the devil we know. And instead of choosing for that great unknown, the opportunity, the possibility, the evolution, we choose to do it the way we've done it before. And that gets me to real time. Because if we look around us in society, in the world around us, in culture, we've noticed that we've been overtaken. overtaken by the reality. We're not fast enough as an industry. We're not speedy enough with decision making, with creation. And with that, it's not just about speed and spend money, but it's more about relevance. And we're out of relevance because we're not able to join the conversation in the right moments, pick up on the right conversations by default, and we're just still sending the message by default. Now, it's obviously happening somewhere else too, but around us, we are not adhering to the culture, the consumer expectations that are changing very fast, but also the attention that's diminishing, the fact that we need to be way more contextual and relevant, hyper personalization to that point. Also now, especially the last couple of months, we've seen a lot of new tools, AI tools coming out, and the competitor of your brand is not just the other brands out there, but it's everybody on the social channels, everybody on digital almost is creating content, is vastly infusing the channels with content, and it's changing the landscape. And we're not fast enough because there's also a scare. We're way too scared to participate because a single post can kind of kill your brand. And this mindset is something we need to break through. And this is where AI can help us a lot. Specifically because there's the transformation that we need to go under. It's not a simple thing, right? Let's be clear. It's not something we can change overnight. It's not just I use the tool and then we're there. It does require us to transform and to be pretty clear about where the opportunities are to start and go on this journey. It's also not just a tool setup. I think this is the thing where I'm having a lot of conversations about AI being the tool. Here's the tool or the agent that can do the work for you. And I think the most debate is about getting people out of the equation. It's not necessarily the case. Obviously, it can be done with tools what we're now all do manually, which means we have an impact on the workforce, but it still requires expertise, marketing expertise to be precise. On the one hand, the tools, the agents need to be tailored for the specific marketing application. And we need to make sure that we find these tools and build these tools together. We've done a first take on that with Monks.Flow. I think Monks.Flow is exactly made to be the translation of the powerful technology that's out there, that's able to do so much more than we're already still using, but really apply it for the marketing reality. But at the same time, we still need the expertise, the humans, the talent that can manage these tools and can digest the actual output into real good strategies and creative work. So the combination requires you and us to change and transform for this new reality, and a reality where you can be more real time. With that, what is real time? I'm going to try to break it down in this short amount of time we have into three key buckets. One, we need to have faster real-time decision making. We need to be able to understand what's happening around us, have an instant view on that, but on a huge data set, and then make fast decisions and even turn the decisions into recommendations and strategies. This is where AI really comes into play. And as a creative, very excited actually about this part because it's initially a bit scary, but the fact that you now have tools that instantly give you the insights, the information you need to make faster decisions, to understand what's happening outside our own bubble of marketing, where you're in with your agency and your marketing team, is allowing us to be actually way more objective about what's happening, and we can also make faster decisions together because of that objectivity of the data. This is an example. I unfortunately cannot show it live to you, but please reach out. I'm happy to walk through. These are our tool set that we've created, Monks.Flow, but there are other tool sets out there too. And this tool is exactly what you need to do as a marketer, because it is looking at a huge amount of data set, the data set that you can actually define yourself. In this example, it's being specifically focused on social data sets. So it's a social listening tool in essence, but on steroids. It's basically social understanding. It instantly in real time will give you the conversations that are happening out there, the comments that are made about your brand, or the opportunity in comments for your brand. And it turns that into an opportunity. And the opportunity that can be the starting point of a new campaign, the starting point of an actual evolution of an existing campaign, a messaging that needs to happen. But doing this will help us to, on 24-hour cycles, look at these input, start our day with understanding what's happening in real time, and act on it if needed. And then the second part is turning this into a strategy. So instead of using the insight and then going to a couple of days of strategy and strategic thinking, AI can help us, the tools can help us to turn the insight in an instant strategy. The strategy, again, is driven off of a lot of data. It's using your brand model. So you need to make sure you train this on all the attributes from your brand. Also, your marketing plan, your marketing strategy, ideally also your entire catalog of your product or your services. So it has all the information you need to actually feed a really good strategy. And last but not least, it also has a lot of audience data in there, which I think is one of the key factors here, is that we constantly look at our different audience and audience sets, because we can have them as a live panel with us while developing strategies. So what it in this case does, it basically takes the opportunity and it turns that opportunity into an actual strategy, what to do and how to solve some of the KPIs that you have set there for yourself, for your brand, for your product, etc. And the last step, I'll just do this quick, is then if you have a strategy, you can also turn it into quick concepts. And the concepts are, as I mentioned at the beginning, good. By the way, strategy as well are good. The output is good. It does vary a bit. Sometimes it's a bit of a hit of mix. It's an element of AI. It's always a bit of trying and figuring it out. I think at this point doesn't give you like an instant immediate result that is perfect, but that's where the humans come in, right? That's where we as humans can actually look at this, and you can see probably here how much empowerment you already get from just being able to, in a short amount of time. And if I would do this live with you, this would probably take about like 4 to 5 minutes to go from an insight to a first batch of concepts. Now that's linear. You want to go back and forth a bit on it, challenge it a bit. But these ideas from a creative perspective, which I compare it with, is, for instance, a step that you're having after a couple of days. Let's say you do some strategy, couple of days first ideation with your team. You're coming back into a kitchen session, and this is sort of that level where you have a lot of ideas hanging around, and you select the ones. You still need to recognize the ones that actually participate or resonate with you and do guide you to a really good output. So again, it's not a one size fits all, pushing the button and you get it out of it, but it does help you to improve that couple of days work into a couple of minutes, and if you do it well, maybe an hour, which makes us to make decisions faster, to also try and fail faster. Because let's be honest, I think that's part of what we need to get used to. We need to be able to fail fast, because the speed does force us to also just take some jumps. And if we try to be perfect, we're never going to get there, but we're also going to be out of relevance soon. So we have to change our mindset into this behavior of faster decision making, and the tools can help us there. And as I mentioned, it's not just the tool. It's I hope I demonstrated a little bit already. It's a tool with talent that is controlling it and is identifying what's come out of it. This first part of the process of creation and strategy is something that I think we can speed up as a team. You might have your agency's partner doing most of it. Some of you have maybe internal teams, but I think this is also an interesting question. Who is doing this? Is it actually your agency, or is it your own team? And my recommendation would be, the least what it needs to happen is it's a collaboration. It's more like a co-creation setup and process we need to adhere to, so we can all make faster decisions. We all look at the same tools, can do these things. I think marketers should use these tools as well to get to first sort of setups, and then from there you'll run into production and creative production, to be precise. And I think this is where it gets quite interesting with the way we approach it. So my second thing is, we shouldn't just look at recreating creative, instant, one-off moments, creative ideas that are working for specific context. We need to look at creating a creative system, something that can just go beyond the single format, and actually can fuel us constantly on the first try, but definitely in the long term. Because the moment you've set this system up, it's also way more easier to adapt and create new content from this system. The system has two sides. On the one hand, the production system. What is changing now in terms of AI is that we can create content with the tools, but in order to do so, it's not just still a single tool that can get you the full content size and format that we need. It requires us to create workflows. These type of pipelines, as you can see here, workflows or pipelines, that are mostly automated and can get you to an actual new production process, which is an agentic process, where you go from A to B. This, by the way, this topic is something we will cover in the next session. So we'll deep dive into that for more details about how. But it's a good idea to keep in mind that this is how it starts, because this system is something that you can constantly operate, which means, compared to the traditional production operation, we can keep creating content whenever you need it, and new assets could come out of it in a matter of minutes. And that's obviously a huge advantage for us to be real time, to go to market faster with our content. And then secondly, maybe before I go to the second one, I'll show you a quick example of one of the films that we've seen coming out in the recent months. There's a Coke ad that I think everybody's seen. This is another ad. Just a quick view first.
The road can be a wild place. There are all kinds of drivers out there. That's why Progressive Snapshot personalizes your insurance rate based on your driving. So you're not stuck paying for someone else's mistakes. What? Is there something wrong with my hair?
So this is one ad, which is fully agentic. So that's quite interesting. I know that this ad is made in a couple of weeks' time. So it also gets us from like production times that are very long down to, let's say, a month, 5 weeks or so. Additionally, this was a concept that wasn't being able to produce with traditional methods because budget. And I think we all face that issue as well. Is it's great that we need to change and transform, but at the same time, we also need to be very efficient. We need to probably get rid of a lot of budget, or do the same thing for less budget. This is helping us with do that, with creating that great amount and great type of content, quality content, within those limitations. But at the same time, we need to be careful that this ad is still what we're aiming for. I think the one size fits all is done. You need to create a system. Again, what I mentioned before. And with that idea of the production process, as I mentioned, being agentic, we can actually use this sort of hero spot to create a full creative ecosystem, a whole story about these characters, for instance, in this case, that can feed all of the different channels, all of the different audiences with more bespoke, relevant content, but also with more responsive content, jumping fast on a conversation and using one of our characters to actually jump in and respond to it. It's basically allowing you to have, instead of just a campaign period, which is you press play and you play all your ads in a period, it's more like a, let's say, election campaign, where you constantly are actively looking at what's happening in your campaign period, and you evolve your creative, you spot opportunities and react fast to it, which creates way more, I would say, connection and interaction with your brand, but obviously in the end, way more relevance. So this idea of system thinking is helping us to really move from a longer term process for creative into a shorter term process, but also allows us to have better quality content and better quality moments wherever you go. So every ad can be more of a brand ad. And we can talk about quality all day long. I think this is the biggest question from a creative perspective. Is it looking good? You can feel that AI is there, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, true. But today is the worst it will ever be. The fast evolution of the models of the technology, but also us as humans learning how to actually treat these technology to get the best output, is going so fast that it isn't a matter of time. And next to that, your audience is using AI to create content already. So the expectation of content is changing as well. And we should be careful to not be too much in our own old world, where we expect the highest level of fidelity being the ultimate goal of effectiveness in creativity. That said, it looks good, it goes live, and we can all debate on certain type of content looking good or not good, but it's moving ahead way fast. We obviously also have to deal with the human intuition out there, the human reaction again, which is tough. Like I think this ad came out similarly when Coca-Cola came out. So we had two ads out there, and there was obviously a lot of debate about it. But I do want to focus on the positive again, because I think we need to be always mindful of where to use and how to use AI in the creation of this. It's all based on also your own brand positioning, your brand truth, your values in that sense. But I think we need to avoid us being stuck in the AI train, because in essence, all of the ads that you've seen in the last 20 years where animals were acting, you probably could have guessed that there's a lot of technical tools involved to create that. CGI. We never talked about CGI in this space and made it an issue. Now with AI, we do. We also should be careful that AI doesn't become this big thing that it's in the end not, because it's a tool. It's a tool that helps us create content, create creative work, create insights and strategies, but it's still a tool. And instead of looking at it as a danger, look at it as a new craft, because going into that and creating these type of content is a craft. It is requiring still the right type of talent with the right knowledge to get this output out of the tools. So it's not just a push and a button that everybody can do. And that's getting you also to really quality content again. So in the end of the day, create a system and don't be scared to use AI, which is the last part. Creative is the new targeting. If we look at the media channels out there, the media channels are really evolving. The algorithms are very powerful in terms of targeting the right audience and connecting it to your creative. You see this already more and more, and I think we've all seen Dave Zuckerberg going out there saying, connect this to your bank account, and all of the platforms are actually being more prominent with their tools as well. They're becoming the end-to-end solution. And I think we can all have our own feelings about that comment. He is right in the sense of the best performance you'll get from actually direct connection to the platform. But what is really the biggest problem that we're seeing is that at the moment we are not delivering enough content for the algorithms. The algorithms work with a huge variety of content and are able to select the right audience based on the different creative you have. They can basically do optimization themselves in order to get the right output done. So the more content, the more variation of content, not just cut downs, are very important to get the most power out of the platforms, out of your media buy. And we cannot live up to that because we're still in very traditional sense thinking about a toolkit with an X amount of limited assets. So real time also means making enough content to actually use the algorithms, use the media in the best possible way, and basically try to get from your assets directly into the algorithms to let them evolve. Just a quick reference of what it would be. Is the case we've done for Headspace. Headspace is a mental health app and program. It's helping you to go and evolve your health in the mental space and keep you healthy, specifically focused on that. It's preventive. We all know that in the end, health is a very personal and very varied situation. For Headspace, it's very important that the right messaging is hitting the right audiences. So what we've done here is we first made a system. So a good creative system that allowed us to create a lot of variation and also fast variation. But we based our instant first amount of creative on synthetic uses. So before we went to the algorithms, we focused our strategies and our creative on lots of real-time conversations with audiences. We have our tools for that. There are more persona tools out there. This is Persona Flow. It's basically a rich amount of data sets, third-party data, GWI data, and so on, that gets us into very valuable data sets that allows us to have real-time conversations with audiences if you apply AI to it. And these synthesized panels are helping us to actually evolve and understand what type of messaging, what type of creative is required. And it's getting us to a first batch of very interesting creative, but not just one ad, this whole series. Again, the system is helping us to be consistent, to create an actual brand world, but then the ad that comes out of it can be very varied and very based on individual personas. So we've created a lot of personalization here. This is just an overview of the data. We use mode of action in some countries where mode of action data is more powerful, GWI in general. And in some cases, we also adapt and add first-party data to it just to enrich the data sets and have it even more specific for the brand or for the different industries. And out of it, we can create a lot of content, a lot of great content that is applied to the different audiences, different use cases, and very relevant in that case. Using AI again, this is on the right asset plan as part of the system where you actually can deploy and create all of the different versions. We have created a first batch, first tier, and that went straight into the algorithms. And from there, the algorithms started to actually learn and understand what the best scoring creative was. We learned from that as well. We got it back, and we are able to do a second flight of new creative that was really based also on the live audience. This is all kind of showing how that system is working if it's connected to your media channel, but it's also helping to actually increase your performance on these media channels, actually using and leveraging the technology on the channels, the algorithms, the AI algorithms in a better way. But it is our job to create good content, and it's our job to create really good, varied content. And from there, start learning in every step we take. So the system is not just a static system. It's also a system that keeps learning, and we have to keep learning with that, which closing the loop to my first point, making fast decisions. The more data we have, the more understanding we have of what's working, what's not working, the better our creative will be. And also the faster we can move forward and make new decisions every time again. So the act of creation will also need to become an act of data creation in that cycle. Okay, there was a lot. I have to cover a lot in a short amount of time. We're going to deep dive in some sessions on these comments too, these topics. But the key thing for a real-time brand is basically broken down in 3 areas. 1, real-time decision making. Very simple. Let's use the tools to all together, the different parties and stakeholders involved, make faster decisions and create faster strategies and concepts for our campaigns. The second thing is create creative as a system and not just an ad. Let's stop creating the one-size-fits-all asset, but really move towards a nice system that can constantly allow to evolve our creative, or evolve our idea into the different contexts of the world. And 3, we have to produce more creative. If we like it or not, more creative will help to improve the performance of your media. So this machine will help us to basically get more media effectiveness, but also keep learning about what's happening and what's working and not for our audiences, and in the end for your brand and marketing. With that last bit, going back to the beginning, I'm very optimistic and very positive. I see a huge amount of creativity, a huge amount of craft coming out of this. And in the end of the day, a very, very good system for marketing in your brand. But it has to be us choosing the white canvas and not the blank mirror. And it's scary, I know, but we have to change, because otherwise we're going to be stuck in an outdated marketing system for way too long. First thing that you could do and should do is bridge the knowledge gap. Making sure that you understand what the technology can do, that you understand what the different applications are, is key. It started with me doing that as well. It's maybe hopefully here too, where you have a first sneak preview of what's possible. We do monthly 25 minutes of AI sessions, which basically give you an every month doses of the latest information, some inspiration about AI, just to get kind of that anxiety going. I would also recommend that to do that in your company. Get your colleagues to be excited about this, because the more we are, the faster we can move forward. And with that, Rachel, I think you had some questions.
Great. Okay, so let's delve into some questions. So first up, in the absence of enterprise solutions, how do we balance the use of AI tools as marketers and make sure data privacy and security is maintained?
First and foremost, what we normally do is work with the IT departments on the client side as well, because I think you're right about the whole need for data privacy. And in essence, if we use our own tool sets with clients, we also really recommend that these tools run within your own environment on the client side. So it's not our interference, and you can actually get access to the right data constantly. But in the absence of more scaled strategies tool strategies, it is mainly finding the first use case that doesn't allow that kind of heavily privacy sensitive situation. It's either using data that is less proprietary, more third-party data, for instance, and just start using it. Because I think it's less about doing it now 100% different or well. I think it's more about gradual translation and transition to using the tools in first use cases, get us all to use it, to get used to these new ways of working. So I think it's choose carefully. We sometimes call it the non-regrettable use case. Look at what is an easy thing to solve first, without all of that legal and ethical debate. And also obviously where you can use the tools according to your own kind of risk spectrum and profile as a company.
Great. Okay. And then how do we build a full stack solution that provides a seamless sort of A to Z experience where solutions are talking to each other, so kind of fully integrated on all levels?
This is quite interesting, because Where we normally start is less about the tools. First, it's about workflows. I think when you think about what AI is forcing us to do, is working way more standardized. I think as marketeers and the whole marketing industry will be pretty free flow, at least in the majority. The moment it gets more to scale production and personalization and media, it gets more processized. But the begin part is very free flowing. That needs to be fixed first. So you need to get to standard workflows the way, and then in the first sort of state, it's not yet fully end to end if it comes to the tools. But within these workflows, you can start intertwining it with actual tools that you use. Either one solution, which I think at the moment is hardly out there. So it's becoming more a matter of identifying the tools for each step in your process, each step in your workflow that you can be used, and be standard with that. So you can train people on these tools, you can get access to these tools. But the workflow thinking needs to come first.
Great. Okay. And then another question that's come in is, how can we effectively advise clients on their transformation journey when introducing new AI powered tools?
I think the way I mentioned it before already with the other question, it is to start where you feel most comfortable to start. Again, the change from 0 to 100 is too big. So go where there is a non-regrettable use case, a use case that you should be doing and nobody really would mind you doing it differently, because the impact will be there, because there's less focus on it, less spotlights on it, there's less human touch required for kind of the romance of the attribute, and start from there. I think we need to be careful with calling it pilots or point proof of concepts, because what we see happening is that those are really not being adapted into the long-term transformation. So we need to be wise and ideally test it in an actual live situation, but start small. And with that, try to create excitement within both your own team and your client's team around how this can have a lot of impact. And the excitement of it and the impact, positive impact, will get you to move beyond kind of that first use case.
Great. Okay. And then tapping into that concept of the tools, what's the right balance between off-the-shelf AI tools and building bespoke?
So we have one mantra internally: don't out Google, which basically is, we need to know our role, and Google will create the technology. I think the biggest miss is the user application. Because it's a one-size-fits-all tool. There's a huge amount of power in it. It can do a lot of the things, but it requires a translation into the day-to-day activities. That's where Monks.Flow is being built for. It's like bridging that gap. So there are tools out there that do that, and we are very focused on creating that, and obviously then connecting that to the workflows, as I mentioned before. But the first step is even what we do still internally is you can set up tools like Gemini or ChatGPT by experts, but set them up in a way with gems or projects that is actually applicable for your organization. It could either be for us as a creative company, we set gems up to be very focused on research, to be focused on ideation and creation. You can have knowledge bases in there that you can all set up. So it doesn't require a lot of huge technology advanced mindset. It just requires a specialist that set it up, and now it can also be shared with all of your companies, or your whole company. So you can actually have it done once, and then everybody can use it, which helps a lot to actually bridge that gap. It's not 100% obviously easy, because it will still use the same UI and interaction models as the standard out of the box tool, but it does help already with a specific use case definition, and then the right calibration of the model with the right prompt, system prompt, and right knowledge base to get better results out of it for your team. And then the ultimate step is to go more professional, more enterprise with solutions like Monks.Flow, and there are others out there that allow you to really have tools made for marketing.
Great. Okay. And I know this question was sort of one that people were helping each other out with on LinkedIn, which was great. But how do we keep up? How do we stay updated with the latest AI tools? How do companies and marketing professionals do that? And what do you think the best process is to integrate that into our kind of daily operations and activities?
I think the only thing there is knowledge, the knowledge gap. What I mentioned again, you need to close the knowledge gap that we all have. I can only say what we've done, and I think it's using a lot of. I think it's been a lot of effective for us, but also for more and more clients out there. So clients are using it, and it's basically a weekly cadence of just 15 minutes. We call it internally 50 minutes of AI. Every week we have our expert, the ones that are very on the front lines naturally because they're curious. They're the engineers that know everything about the technology. They're the creatives that have the weird minds to look at the technology and come up with crazy things that you can do with it. And we've got them together and basically update the entire company every week for 50 minutes about the latest news, some use cases, some great work that we've done, or some good work out there. And we added a little homework to it. And that's just to get everybody going, get everybody excited. So the biggest thing is have a high cadence of information sharing, but also assign someone to be the lead. Assign the specialist in your company. You're not going to get there without specialists in your teams. That's the truth. But you can use these specialists and scale them very wisely to share the knowledge across your entire team with these sort of small stand-ups. Don't make it too long. Don't make it too heavy and too deep. Just make it light and informational, and that gets everybody going, I guess.
Great. Well, thank you so much. It's been amazing. And our next AI Playbook session is on content craft and AI on January the 27th at 12:30 GMT on LinkedIn, we hope. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.